Quilter's newsletter, Machine Quilting Tips and Techniques, is brought to you by Bernina, Made to Create, and Benartex, Fabric for Quilters by Quilters.
Hi, I'm Connie Fanders, and this is Quilter's newsletter, Machine Quilting Tips and Techniques with Bernina. And today we are going to talk about piping, because piping, a lot of times you will use that on your quilted projects, such as tote bags, pillows, even table runners use piping every once in a while. So I want to show you how to make a beautiful piping and insert it into your pillow. To begin with, you want to take your fabric and you want to cut it at a 45-degree angle or on a bias. And your piping will lay much nicer if cut on a bias. The width of your piping strip is determined on the diameter of the cording that you're going to be putting into the piping. Now today on the pillow, I chose to use a necktie for the fabric for my piping. A necktie is normally a silk fabric, and it is already cut on the bias. So what I did is I simply opened up the necktie, took out the interfacing, and I cut my bias strip right down the center of the tie. So that's what gave me the nice fine silk piping that I have in the pillow. Now with my piping, the strips, normally they are not long enough to go around your entire quilted project, so you will need to join the strips. To join the strips, you'll put them at an angle, and what I like to do is just draw a line from the tip here to the corner there, and this is then my stitching line. So I'm going to stitch my bias strips together. I'm going to remove my pins before I stitch over them. Now we have completed our stitching, and the first thing we want to do then is to trim that extra seam allowance away. And now as I open it up, you can see it is a nice straight piece of bias trim. The reason that we like to sew that on an angle is that it eliminates bulk in your piping. Now we are ready to go to our sewing machine and sew the piping together. The foot that I like to use is the Bernina number 12 foot, which is called the bulky overlock foot. And what is nice about this foot is it has a large channel underneath which allows that piping to flow through freely as we are sewing it. So I'm going to attach the foot to the machine. And then I'm going to move my needle position over 4 places to the right. I take my strip and I center my cording in the center of it, fold it over, and then I simply begin to sew, putting that cording right down the groove of that foot. Now you can see we have our first row of stitching perfectly sewn on our piping. Join us next time as I show you how to insert the piping into your quilted project.
Quilter's newsletter, Machine Quilting Tips and Techniques, is brought to you by Bernina, Made to Create, and Benartex, Fabric for Quilters by Quilters.